This day was exceptionally stressful. There was a pileup at work. We were not meeting the deadlines to complete the project, and that's why my relationship with the boss had become extremely tense. Returning home late in the evening from work, a friend called me asking to keep him company. Though his voice was a bit strained, I didn't think much of it. Today he was celebrating his 30th birthday, and since I was his only friend, I couldn't refuse. We met at the bar where we often like to sit over a glass of beer, discussing usual men's matters. When I arrived, he was already finishing his drink, and his mood was not exactly festive. Congratulating him on his anniversary, wishing him all the best, I ordered more beer and sat down across from my friends. He seemed troubled. I don't remember ever seeing him like this before. But anything can happen in life. I understood that. I had my own problems at work, but after all, today was a celebration. How can one be sad on such a day? Asking what had happened, I received an unexpected answer. Today is my last birthday. To be honest, I was expecting any answer, but I was not prepared for such a one. With bewilderment, I asked him to explain what the matter was, where such terrible thoughts in his head came from. To which I received an answer even more unexpected than the last. Death came to me. I practically chugged my glass in one gulp and ordered more. My friend sat in indescribable sorrow. His words seemed insane to me, but he was not a madman. I had known him since school. He always stood out from the others with his straightforwardness, and he never made up stories like the others did to attract attention. Taking a very small sip from his glass, staring at some point on the table, my friend Co continued to tell his story. This night, I woke up from a strange unease. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Still in a half-awake state, rubbing my eyes, I stared at the wall opposite, which was faintly illuminated by the moonlight. A strange shadow was discernible in it. I became frightened. It was as if my strength had left me, and I couldn't even move. Staring at it, I lost the sense of time. It seemed to have stopped. Sometime later, something emerged from the wall. I couldn't believe my eyes. At first, it was a black silhouette. After a while, it began to slowly approach. This something resembled an old woman in a black cloak. I couldn't make out her face. It was hidden in the shadow of the hood. I can't describe the sheer terror I felt. I wanted to scream. My eyes seemed about to burst from the strain, and my heart to leap out of my chest. Suddenly he stopped. Raised the glass, his hands shook so much that if there had been just a little more beer, it would have surely spilled onto the table. Slowly, holding it with the other hand, he emptied it and carelessly put it back on the table. What I heard put me in a kind of stupor. I didn't know what to do. Another person in my place would probably spin a finger at the temple, but I am not another person. I've known him too long to doubt his words. Staring at a new spot on the table, not waiting for my reaction, my friend continued his story. This creature grabbed my hand. I felt a strong burning and unbearable pain, as if a red-hot metal hand was squeezing my wrist. With a cold, grave voice, this phrase came out from under the gloomy hood. I will return today, and this time you will go with me. After that, I immediately lost consciousness. Looking into my eyes, as if seeing a hint of disbelief, he rolled up his sleeve with trembling hands. And then I felt uneasy. There was indeed a burn on his wrist in the shape of a hand. I involuntarily glanced at the window. It was 11 o'clock in the evening. Nothing was visible outside, just darkness and our reflections against it. My friend also turned his head, and at some point everything flew off. The chair he was sitting on, the table, the glasses. He fell. Horror was frozen on his face, and his words sounded like a gunshot. "It's here! It's right behind me!" I looked back at the window again, but I didn't notice anything unusual. Just myself, the overturned table and chair, and my friend lying on the ground. In the same minute, while I was in wild bewilderment and shock from what was happening, my friend took off and ran into the street. I immediately ran after him, but he seemed to dissolve into the darkness. The bartender, who was furious about what had happened, brought me back to my senses. Taking money from my pocket, I gave her more than enough for the inconvenience caused. After that, taking out my phone, I immediately started calling my friend. The subscriber was not available. I kept calling him nonstop until I reached my home. Sitting on the couch, either from fatigue or from stress, I fell asleep. I woke up at 10 o'clock. Fortunately, it was a day off, as falling asleep so early, I did not set the alarm and would have inevitably overslept for work. Remembering the events of last evening as a terrible dream, I decided to call my friend again. The subscriber was still not available. A few minutes later, an acquaintance of mine who worked as a forensic expert in the city morgue called me and urgently asked to come. Half an hour later, I was on the spot. I was not ready for what he was going to show me. Opening the refrigerator, on the shelf lay my friend. His face was frozen in horror, blue. His eyes were white and wide open. His mouth was also unnaturally open, and so it felt as if his jaw had broken from a scream. I was surprised by his wrist. There was no trace that he had shown me the day before. I felt nauseous from what I saw, and I ran to the restroom. Washing up, I felt a strange burning on my arm. Rolling up my sleeves, I was horrified. On my wrist, there was exactly the same mark as on my friend's.